Imina 37 na legislature in Guahan is called to order. Buenas and mananas izuus colleagues. Majority Leader, you are recognized.
Buenas, good morning, Madam Speaker. Notwithstanding Section 1.02, Sessions of the Legislature in Guahan, H1, Privileges of the Floor, Persons Allowed, I move to waive this section to permit the students of Tamuning Elementary School to be on the session floor.
On that motion to waive Section 1.02, notwithstanding the rules, to allow the students of the Tamuning Elementary School to be on the session floor, are there any objections? Seeing no objections, that motion carries. While the students are coming in, well, we'll wait for them to all come in. Welcome. All right, welcome again to the students and teachers of Tamuning Elementary School. Welcome to the Guam Legislature. All right, so as we begin our morning, we're going to begin with a prayer. Senator Jesse Lujan will kindly lead us in prayer. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, we are thankful for the watch care that you provide over the affairs of the 37th Guam Legislature. We are grateful that nothing escapes your care or notice. You are never asleep, and you never change. The ideology and philosophies of the times change often, but you never do. Your immutability gives us great comfort, knowing that you always keep your word, and your promises are true. Help us not to be so enamored by our own talents and abilities that we fail to submit ourselves to you and your ways. You tell us in Colossians 3 that we are to demonstrate compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving each other as you have forgiven us. We pray that you would find each of us faithful in pursuing those qualities in our hearts and minds. Father, many things vie for your attention. Would you grant wisdom and clarity to each member of this legislature as we do the work of serving the needs of the people of Guam. We need your help, and we pray for it in your holy name. Amen.
To express a never-ending and never-forgotten gratitude by the people of Guam, the legislature recognizes recipients of Milazan Mastakilu na Sakrifisu on a display in the Guam Congress building and during each of its sessions. For the recognition of a recipient of Imalazan Mastakilu na Sakrifisu, Senator Duenas, you are recognized.
Sidus Masi, Madam Speaker. Recognition of a recipient of Imalazan Mastakilu na Sakrifisu. On behalf of a grateful island and country, we honor Staff Sergeant Juan L.G. Duenas and the family of Staff Sergeant Juan L.G. Duenas for making the ultimate sacrifice in service and defense of our island and country.
And now with the students of Tamuning Elementary School, kindly lead us in the reciting of the Inifresi, the singing of the Guam hymn in Chamorro, and the singing of the national anthem.
Sir. Okay.
Si Zeus Maasi Tamuning Elementary School. The Tamuning Whales, Si Zeus Maasi. Clerks, please take the roll call.
Senator Barnett, Senator Blas, Senator Brown, Senator Dueñas, Senator Fisher, Senator Lujan, Vice Speaker Munya Barnes, Senator Parkinson, Senator Perez, Senator Kanata, Senator San Augustine, Senator San Nicolas, Senator Shelton, Senator Taitigui, Speaker Talahi. Madam Speaker, there is a quorum.
Si Zeus Maasi, Clerk. On approval of the Legislative Journal, Majority Leader, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move to approve the Legislative Journal dated August 14th, 2024, subject to corrections.
On that motion to approve the journal subject to corrections, are there any objections? Seeing no objections, that motion carries.
Madam Speaker, there are communications and petitions, and I move that they be appended to today's session journal.
On that motion to append communications and petitions to the journal, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries.
And Madam Speaker, there are messages from Imagahagan Guahan, and I move that they be appended to today's session journal.
On that motion to append messages from Imagahagan Guahan to the session journal, are there any objections? Seeing no objection, that motion carries.
Madam Speaker, there are reports of standing committees, and I move that they be appended to today's session journal.
On that motion to append reports of standing committees to the journal, are there any objections? Seeing no objections, that motion carries.
Madam Speaker, there are no reports of select committees at this time.
Sizos Masi.
Madam Speaker, I move that bills introduced, bill numbers 340-37LS through 350-37LS and 351-37COR through 358-37COR, and resolutions introduced, resolution numbers 458-37LS through 481-37LS and 482-37COR through 532-37COR be deemed to have been given their first reading.
On that motion, as to bills introduced and resolutions introduced having their first reading, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. We're now on motions. Majority Leader, you are recognized.
Sedus Masi, Madam Speaker, I move to excuse members not present for today's legislative session.
On that motion to excuse senators not present this morning or for session, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. We're still on motions. Majority Leader, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move that all congratulatory, commendatory, and condolence resolutions introduced today and for the remainder of this session be considered first read and adopted to allow the Legislative Legal Counsel to make technical corrections and to add all senators as co-sponsors.
On that motion, as to congratulatory, commendatory, and condolence resolutions, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. We're still on motions. Are there any other motions? Majority Leader, you are recognized.
Sedus Masi, Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the rules, I move to add the reappointment of Ronald F. Eclavea to serve as a member of the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission for a term of 4 years from date of confirmation of appointment to the session agenda.
On that motion to add the nomination of Ronald Eclavea to the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, is there any objection to adding that? Seeing no objection, that motion carries.
And Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the rules, I move to add the reappointment of Anita F. Orlino to serve as a member of the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission for a term of 4 years from date of confirmation of appointment to the session agenda.
On that motion to add to our agenda the nomination of Anita Orlino as to the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. We're still on motions. Majority Leader, you're recognized.
Sedus Masi, Madam Speaker, I move that all bills dealing with appropriations be moved to the bottom of the file.
On that motion to move appropriation bills to the bottom, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries.
Sedus Masi, Madam Speaker.
Sizos Masi. On motions, Vice Speaker, you're recognized.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, Jan Manana Sidzus. Many of God's blessings to all of us here this morning, and to thank also the Tamuling Elementary second graders, home of the Wells, for being here this morning to sing the national anthem, the Guam hymn, and the Inifresi. They did an excellent job. Can we give them a round of applause again? Sidzus Masi, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at this time, notwithstanding the House rules, I would like to make a motion to remove Bill number 222, which is an act to reserve lot number 2417-1-R7, the former Department of Public Health and Social Services main building in Manila, for immediate use by the Department of Public Health and Social Services from the session agenda. And I would like to explain briefly my intent behind this motion, Madam Speaker, for the benefit of my colleagues in the listening audience. On December 18th of last year, Madam Speaker, I introduced Bill number 221, which seeks to revive an attempt proposed in the 36th Guam Legislature to breathe new life into the burned and abandoned building in Manila that formerly served as the headquarters for the Department of Public Health and Social Services. At the heart of this legislation
Vice Speaker,
is a shovel-ready
as you know, according to the rules, we're not to refer to bills that have not yet been reported out.
But Madam Speaker, with all due respect, that's why I said a notwithstanding motion on this matter, because I wanted to explain why I'm asking
The
for the
motion
motion
is
to.
being allowed, but the
Well, Madam
the
Speaker, if I may
references are not.
continue, at
The
the heart of the
references are not
legislation is
allowed,
the
Vice
shovel-ready
Speaker.
project from the Guam Community College, which
Vice
would
Speaker.
transform that facility into a dual-use building that GCC and Department of Public Health and Social Services can share with training spaces for students, also serving as clinical and laboratory spaces for government employees and clients. Just about 24 hours after that, our speaker, you, Madam Speaker, introduced a conflicting bill 222, which would prevent this collaborative project from proceeding and instead laying the burden of the Department of Public Health and Social Services to plan and fund the repairs, renovations, and reconstruction of this building. Along the way, despite commitments from the Speaker to hold a public hearing, Bill 221 has not been given that chance to move forward in the Committee of Land and Justice. Colleagues, that's 9 months
Vice
between its
Speaker,
introduction
again,
and
you
today.
are prohibited
9
by
months
our
with the
rules.
refusal
If you
to
want to
give a
debate the
bill
motions, Vice
which
Speaker.
contradicts
Vice
the
Speaker.
Speaker's approval.
I'm
If there is
allowing your
a-
motion, but you
Madam
have to adhere
Speaker,
to the rules as well as to
I'm
reference
just
to bills.
explaining like you have done in the past.
You have
I'm
you
just
can
I'm
explain,
trying to
but you can't-
explain
Vice
the
Speaker,
reason
I
why
have
this
the-
is a
Vice Speaker.
notwithstanding motion. That is why over the course of
Vice Speaker.
several Committee on Rules meetings, Madam Speaker,
Vice Speaker.
I have objected
Vice
to the
Speaker.
inclusion of Bill 222 on
Vice
our session
Speaker.
agenda. And I humbly ask members of the court to give these two measures the same consideration this body gave to two conflicting bills on the new hospital.
Vice Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
I have allowed you to make a motion, but I'm not allowing you to break the rules by referring
But
to
Madam Speaker-
bills that are not yet reported out.
But Madam Speaker, Bill 222 is on the session
That's
agenda,
correct.
Madam
It's been
Speaker.
reported out.
And I'm asking that motion, that a motion
Your motion is
notwithstanding
allowed.
for that bill.
Your motion is allowed.
Right, I'm trying to explain, and I'm trying to
I
give
allowed your
fair
explanation,
justification, Madam Speaker.
I allowed your explanation.
Only fair, Madam
I'm-
Speaker, with all due respect.
It is
on
fair.
why it's a
I am allowing your
notwithstanding
motion.
motion to allow. And
Vice
I
Speaker.
just want to say,
Please, can we have order? Just order
no,
for 1 minute.
I just want to
Order
say, Madam
for
Speaker,
1 minute.
we
1
have
minute
given
order.
you-
Just one
I-
order for 1
Madam
minute.
Speaker.
Recess. Recess. we're back from recess. Rule section 1.02 D3E says debate on non-reported bills is prohibited. It is out of order to refer and debate to a bill or other matter not yet reported by a committee. Neither is it in order to refer to proceedings of a committee unless the committee has formally reported its proceedings to the legislature in Guam. We are currently under motions on a motion to remove Bill 222 from the session agenda. I have allowed that motion to be made, notwithstanding the rules, and I have allowed the sponsor of that motion to debate that motion.
No, you have not, Madam Speaker.
So we are allowing, if we
No,
would
you
like
have not
to,
allowed me, Madam
if
Speaker,
we
with
would
all
like
due
to
respect.
proceed, we will need order.
Yeah, I'm trying to give
If
you
there's
order.
going to be order, we will proceed. Otherwise, the whole entire legislative
I'm going to
business
tell
is
you,
being
Ma-
held up by the lack
It-
of
it could
order
definitely
in
be
here.
held up.
Vice Speaker Munoz
I'm going to
Barnes.
tell you, Madam Speaker, with all due respect,
Would you like to
notwithstanding motion,
proceed with your
and
motion? You do not
notwithstanding
have the
motion
floor
can,
until I
can bring
recognize
anything
you.
to the session
You
floor,
do
and I'm
not
not
have-
giving up.
Vice Speaker.
No, I'm not giving up, Madam Speaker,
I'm
because
not-
you know I'm right.
Would you like to proceed with your motion? And
Yeah,
have a
after I
debate
explain
and
why
have
the
a
motion
debate?
needs to be, why
Vice
the
Speaker,
motion needs to be made.
I am asking you a
I'm going to
question,
tell you,
Vice
Madam
Speaker.
Speaker,
Would
with
you-
all due respect, Madam Speaker,
Vice Speaker.
you
Okay,
have taken a
recess.
bill.
There's no order here.
Okay.
Recess. Back from recess. Again, we are here and we must conduct our session with some order. Please, I'm asking Vice Speaker to let's continue with order. I've allowed your motion, notwithstanding the rules, to remove Bill 222 from the agenda.
Yes.
And I've allowed you, notwithstanding the rules, to debate that motion. So I would ask you to please continue with your debate on that motion as you have asked for in accordance with our rules.
And Madam Speaker,
So
if you
please
allow me to go
proceed.
ahead.
Please proceed
This-
with order.
This is why, Madam Speaker, the 9 months between its introduction and today, 9 months with a refusal to give this bill 221, which contradicts the
Vice
Speaker's own
Speaker,
proposal,
as I've
a
told you
fair
earlier,
hearing. That
point
is
of-
why, over the
Vice
course
Speaker,
of several...
I'm speaking, as I've told you earlier, and I just read the rule, I can read it again.
Madam Speaker, then
It
I
says it's out
object
of order to refer in debate. You're on a debate to remove Bill 222. It's out of order in this debate.
And it's not out of order, Madam Speaker, because it's a
discuss bills that are
notwithstanding
not
motion.
yet reported out of committee.
It's
That's
not.
the rule.
It's a notwithstanding motion, Madam
That's-
Speaker,
no, you're-
because I'm
you're
talking
notwith-
about 222.
Vice
That
Speaker.
is on the committee.
That's correct.
That is on the committee.
I
It's
know.
on the session agenda,
are-
and I'm
we
telling
have
you right
allowed your
now,
motion. Would you
Madam
like to
Speaker, with all
proceed
due
with your
respect, I'm
motion?
telling you that 222 is on the agenda,
If you're
and
just
I want it
going-
removed.
if you're just
And I
going-
want to try and get 8 votes with all sincerity off, so we can have an opportunity to hear another bill, and then have both bills come on. And it's a motion.
I've
You
allowed your
either-
motion.
And I'm just trying to explain my motion, Madam Speaker.
I've
with all
allowed
due
your
respect,
motion,
you
and I am
continue to
allowing your
stymie
debate, but you're
and
speaking
block
over
and
me,
be an
Vice Speaker.
obstructionist to this process on Bill 221. But I'm not even talking about 221. I'm asking for the
You
removal
just
of
mentioned
222.
221.
Because 221 is not on the agenda. 222 is, and I'm trying to get it off. I'm trying to get it off because
So
it is
please-
not fair.
Please proceed with debate on the motion.
And I'm going to tell.
accordance with the
I'm
rules.
going to tell that over the course of several Committee on Rules meetings, I have personally objected to the inclusion of 222 on our session agenda, and have asked members of the Committee on Rules to give 2 measures, the one previous to 222, the same consideration this body gave to the 2 conflicting bills on the new hospital. To refresh our memories, when faced with a similar situation, this body did the right thing.
Point of
It heard
information.
both hospital
Please
bills
state your point of
comprehensively,
information, Senator
enduring
Barnett.
the multiple
Vice
opportunities
Speaker,
for
Vice
stakeholders
Speaker.
to input,
Oh, my
but ultimately
goodness.
scheduled both bills
Senator
for the same
Barnett,
session.
you are recognized
even
on
though
a
one
point of
hospital measure was ready for the
information.
full body before the one.
We cannot proceed with this
Enacting
kind of
either measures
disrespect
concerning the
and
abandoned
chaos.
public
So
health
we're going to take
headquarters
a recess. We are back from recess. We are on motions. We have 17 bills and resolutions on our agenda, and we are entertaining a motion, notwithstanding the rules, to remove one of the bills, 222, from the session agenda. I've allowed the motion to be made. I'm allowing debate on the motion. The debate must be confined to the bill and must not refer to another bill that's not yet reported out of committee. And I'm asking that we proceed for the people of Guam with a sense of dignity and order, not speak over each other, and let's proceed. Vice Speaker, you have the floor on your motion to remove Bill 22 from the session agenda. You may continue.
Colleagues, enacting either measure concerning the abandoned public health headquarters would effectively mean that we shut the door on a set of stakeholders who I truly have just as much right to full consideration from this body. I also think that it's important to get updated information on what factors will affect the sought-after solution from the bills. First and foremost, according to the head of Department of Public Health and Social Services Employees Association, there are no federal grants available to use for capital expenditures, meaning even if this building stays in its inventory, there's no money available to make the substantive repairs required to reopen it for immediate use, as Bill 222 promises in its title. Secondly, the official intent of the damage caused by the electrical fire that occurred in November of 2019 is still not fully known. But here are some of the damage and needed repairs noted so far by the Guam Fire Department and the Department of Public Works. According to the battalion chief, Ronald Castro, based on an inspection conducted on November 27, 2019, major electrical and structural repairs are needed, with flooding found on multiple floors and signs of burnt outlets. Chief Castro categorized the overall damage as extensive due to the leaking roof and extensive electrical work needed. In addition, colleagues, DPW Deputy Director Linda Ibanez informed our office just last week that its official assessment of the Manila facility is pending a request for proposal, which will not go until Public Health identified about $1 million to pay for these services. Deputy Director Ibanez, Linda Ibanez, said that her department is unable to conduct this assessment in-house because of two main reasons: the amount of inspections currently on the plates of DPW staff and the lack of in-house talent to properly assess the HVAC and electrical systems of the building. But Deputy Director Linda Ibanez was on site during one of DPW's visits in the Manila building, and according to her, DPW has already noted a lot of mold damage to the electrical and HVAC systems and repairs needed for the shell of the building, which is supposed to also serve as a fallout shelter. In addition to this damage, Deputy Director Ibanez informed our office that the big ticket items needed to be addressed includes a building's fire suppression system, generator system replacement, repairs to plumbing throughout the building, and ceiling tile replacements. Once again, colleagues, there are no grants currently available to fund any of these, and Bill 222 does not have any local funding to accomplish its goals of DPHSS being given immediate use of the building. In closing, I want to thank Dr. Mary Okada, President of the Guam Community College, for not abandoning the efforts and wanting to continue this win-win for the community college and GPHSS. And though I have deferred to the oversight chair for 9 months to hold a hearing on a bill, hoping that this respect for her chairmanship would lead to a promised hearing for my measure, it has become clear that the intent is to kill my bill in committee and pass the bill, her bill, without due consideration to a valid alternate solution for this property. That is why I have given notice that I will hold a hearing on the bill that hasn't been heard as the author per our standing rules, and hope it can be considered by this body side by side with Bill 222, and a majority of us will decide which proposal is best for our government and our people. And with that, Madam Speaker, I ask my colleagues to support my motion in the name of fairness, mutual respect, and due diligence to remove 222 at this time. And I can even add a motion to defer it to next month so that we can hear the other bill pending and it could be given its fair merits on the floor. And that was all I was ever asking for, on a motion for consideration parity, on a commitment that was made to me that a bill that has not been heard for 9 months, which is my bill, will be heard with all due respect. So that's the motion, Madam Speaker, to remove 222 from the session agenda.
There's a motion. On that motion, Senator Taitakui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning to my colleagues, and good morning to especially those who are listening. I'm getting texts left and right from people trying to figure out what's going on. And simply put, Madam Speaker, what's going on here is that we have an opportunity to help individuals who have a health issue, or we have an opportunity to put public health back to where it was in Manila and its building. We had a public hearing that clearly states from people testifying they support it. We've got Southerners especially supporting it. Regardless of a new hospital is going to be in Manila or Tumuning, wherever it's going to take 5 years. Cancer, accidents, sickness cannot wait for 5 years. Cannot wait. Every time we wait and procrastinate trying to get public health building up and running again in Manila, especially for those in the South, we can lose people. People are dying. And the reason why the Vice Speaker wants her bill on, that we're not even supposed to, notwithstanding if I bring it up because the bill's never had a public hearing, wants to incorporate that into GCC, a college for nurses. That doesn't make any sense when people are dying, which is our priority. People are dying, are giving it to GCC so they can have classes there. That's a no-brainer for anybody. We have an opportunity today, and I spoke to the mayor of Inalahan. Unbelievable, he said. Because he said it's bad enough we wanted the hospital in Manila, but now as we wait wherever it's going to be, our people are in jeopardy. Our people don't have the facilities for public health. You know, Madam Speaker, I was very on top of the issue of public health, and I even provided the insurance documents for public health when it was closed down because of a fire. Those insurance documents stated that the only damage was $600 to a door. To a door. Now, how many people have been put out when they need health care, when they live all the way in the South? And now you want to take that off the agenda? When we have an opportunity to reopen public health with the support of public health? To give it to GCC? That's ridiculous. Without your health, you have nothing. Nothing, my colleagues. When you're in a situation and it's a matter of life or death for you, then maybe you'll realize that. I'm sure many of us had family members who've gotten sick and didn't get the care they needed, or it was too late. Let's not be too late. We keep procrastinating this. It's been 4 years plus since they closed down that facility in Manila, which is perfectly fine. And it's been proven to be perfectly fine. We need to move forward. Quit procrastinating. The people of Guam keep telling us that we're not doing anything. Well, today is an opportunity for us to move forward and help those people, especially those in the South, with health care. It had a public hearing. It had the testimony. The committee report is there. Let's move forward. So I stand in objection because I'm tired of procrastinating. I'm tired of hearing the stories of our people not getting the health care they need, or it's too late for them because they could have easily stopped into public health in Manila to get the care they needed there in an emergency situation. That place could be a satellite for emergency. So I stand in full objection. Let's move forward. This is a job we were given to do, to find solutions to help our community, especially our sick. Again, if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And that's exactly what this request is, to give our people nothing. Again, and sit back and do nothing. Let's move forward, and I stand in objection. Keep Bill 22 on this session agenda. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator.
Madam Speaker, on a point of information,
Please state your point of information.
GCC will not take over that building at the Department of Public Health and Social Services. There would be a co-locating with both GCC and Department of Public Health and Social Services to work together on the programs that will be there, as slated.
Point of information, Madam
Senator
Speaker.
Taitigui, please state your point of information.
Point of information is it's to be used for a school, not what it's originally intended for, used for a school.
On the motion, Senator Shelton, can you?
On the motion, Speaker Terlahi, you are recognized.
Situs Masi, I have full respect for the Guam Community College and its ability to open schools and run programs, as well as the University of Guam, who've just broken ground and beginning construction on a new health building, particularly for training nurses and other medical professionals. I'm objecting to the removal of Bill 222 from the agenda. It was placed there by a legitimate vote of the Committee on Rules. It is there because it's been reported out of committee. It had a public hearing. Overwhelming testimony was in support of the bill. In fact, they were pretty much, the employees of public health were very much, I don't want to say beg, because I refuse that these people have to beg, but they were pleading that we bring attention and bring them back to that building, because they truly believe that the standard of care that they were able to provide, being there in Manilao and in that facility and able to use all their new equipment, is what the people of Guam deserve. And that they are providing less services now because of their inability to move back into that building. And of course, nobody wants them to move into an unsafe building. And so we have communicated with the Department of Public Works, who was supposed to do an assessment of the building and has been telling us for months, that this would be assessed, that the RFP was going out on Monday, that the RFP was being reviewed by the AG. This RFP not gone out yet. And it really looks like a stall to me. I'm just going to call it. I don't know what reason there would be to stall assessing a building, a huge building of the government of Guam's inventory that can be used to, if it could be used to provide services for the people of Guam. And that RFP is supposedly ready, so there should be no delay to getting an assessment done. It's very legitimate for a committee chair to prefer one bill over another after doing research, and especially when hearing that GCC and public health can collaborate together. They already do, according to the testimony. GCC collaborates and public health collaborates with GCC in order to train the nurses of Guam. They're all in partnerships, including GMH and other medical facilities on Guam, medical providers like public health. We only have 2 community health centers on Guam, one in the north and one in the south. And we used to have one in public health run center of care in Manilao, closed down abruptly. Equipment, brand new x-ray equipment put into storage. Services just cut, removed from our island. And while these nurses were shifted to different facilities, including the Northern Clinic, they testified they cannot provide the same level of care that they were able to do before. And even with an expansion of the Northern Clinic and the revitalization of the Southern Health Community Center, if public health is not willing to move this together with the community health centers, community health centers they're run by a board. They're willing to do that because they see the need. I don't want to talk about what we've really seen in this building. There was an emergency declared because there was a smell of smoke in the building. Everybody was evacuated. They came in and they got their files. They took it all out in the middle of the night. And no one was ever allowed. Public health employees were never allowed to go back in there, they said. But when they were in there, they saw no damage. So the building was left in operable condition. And yes, it has been years, and yes, there might be mold because it's been left neglected, ignored, inoperable by higher-ups than the nurses at public health, for sure. Public health employees that testified in support of reopening that as a clinic in Manilao included Margarita Gay. She's the Community Health and Nursing Services Administrator. She's been there for over 20-some years, maybe 30 years. Annette Uggan, Acting Chief Public Health Officer at the time when she testified. Chima Bubuaquin, Bureau of Communicable Disease Control, award winner. Vanessa Ampinko, she was from the Central Public Health Clinic. Linda Rafael, who worked at Public Health in Dedido. Annabelle Estrada, Bureau of Family Health Nursing Services. Relita Sumailo, Bureau of Family Health Nursing Services. Cheryl Tenillo, Bureau of Family Health Nursing Services. Jonathan Lujan, Public Health Emergency Preparedness. Anne-Marie Santos, Bureau of Communicable Disease Control. And Alan Malari, Public Health Lab. Margarita Gay said, after 4 years, without plans to reopen that facility, and she said immunizations had decreased. She said women receiving services had significantly decreased. Pregnant women receiving services had significantly decreased. She said, quote, "The relocation and displacement of the Bureau has impacted a significant decrease in services." She also said, "Our clients are lost because they don't know where we went and don't know what services we offer. It's been 4 years, and all our programs that were located at the CRHC in 2019 are all still displaced and need a permanent building to work in." Annette Uggin said, "Our respective bureaus help each other, as we do not have a home, and I implore the legislative bodies to give us back our home in Mangilao so that we can resume those critical services. Mangilao was the only public health facility that offered dental until, unfortunately, after that fire. It was convenient for clients, not for the employees, but for our clients. We're currently spread out over 5 facilities in multiple villages on this island that our clients have to bounce between. I ask our leadership across this island to give us back our home in Mangilao so that we can release some of the burden at the community health centers." Senator Taitigui, one of my colleagues, she brought to our attention during the public hearing the letter from Beneficial Adjusting Company, January 10, 2020, to the Department of Public Health and Social Services, which denies their claim for fire damage repair. And they described that the claim was made saying smoke was located in the vital statistics room area, the exact point of origin to be determined by Department of Public Works engineers. Smoke was determined in that one room. That's what they said. The insurance company replied, "After an extensive investigation, inspection, and review of the claim, there was no damages noted. It was reported that smoke was located in the Vital Statistics Office and the source of origin could not be determined. Department of Public Works was requested to inspect premises to determine source of origin. At the time of the field evaluation, the information was not available from DPW. There was no soot cover or any fire-related damages observed. Some of the light fixtures and acoustical ceiling tiles were removed by the fire department, exposing the electrical wiring. However, there did not appear to be any apparent electrical malfunction or damage to the wiring. The fire sprinklers were not activated, and the power was shut off before any significant heat buildup developed and eventually cleared. The electrical panel boards were also reviewed, and it was observed that much of the electrical wiring appeared to be experiencing overheating. According to electrical engineer Mr. Wayne Wixon, PE, it is highly recommended that the wiring and circuits be checked for preventative measures, especially with this type of incident occurring." I found that shocking during the hearing, because by that time we had let this building rot for 4 years. And we had cut off dental services completely, moved women's services out of reach. We have one of the highest infant mortality rates on Guam, in the nation. All of that does not make sense as a policy. If we need to rewire it, let's get an estimate. Let's see. I'm all for a cost-benefit analysis of whether it's worth it to repair or not. But to just not proceed and to cut services makes no sense. And there is absolutely no reason that these directors of Guam Community College, the president and the director of public health, cannot continue as the nurses testified that they have always done. They bring the nurse trainees into public health to train, into real clinics, but we need to open the real clinics for them to train. And there is nothing in Bill 222, in fact, that prevents any of that from happening, that prevents public health from continuing to pursue grants and build facilities. There is nothing. It says, Bill 222 says, this land that has been occupied by public health and social services for decades will remain in the inventory of public health and social services until a survey is made and we determine whether they are able to rebuild it, fix it, or not. And that's the only reason I object to the motion. It's completely up to the body whether they're going to remove this from the agenda, but I say the community's health centers have been deeply criticized for not providing urgent care services, for not providing all the services that they have been built to provide to the people of Guam in the south and the north and the central. And there is no reason why we are going to sit around while people suffer and not open more clinics. If we could have one in every village, we should. But to go from 3 to 2 for political reasons makes zero sense. So I object to the bill being taken off the agenda because that would just delay the assessment, which they seem to be delaying already. It would delay public health's use of that as a clinic, and it would delay the people of Guam from receiving these services that unless you have your head in the sand, you should be able to see the urgent need for community health services, for immunizations, for pregnant women to be checked during their pregnancies, for women in general to receive services, to know where to go, for all patients to be seen on a walk-in and appointment basis by competent nurses. We have some of the most competent nurses on Guam serving before in that Manila Health facility. And they are willing, I'm amazed at them, they are so willing to continue to serve. They want more work because they are very concerned at the reduction in services that they've been forced to do. So I ask my colleagues, vote as you will, but I ask you to consider let's help public health move forward and open this clinic in Manila.
On the motion, Senator San Nicolas, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, I used to go to public health in the 80s, and even back then it was already too old. I have a new grandbaby boy, and you know, I wouldn't want to subject him to enter that building without properly, going the extensive, maybe perhaps rebuilding public health. I stand in support of the Vice Speaker. You know, it kind of reminds me of, you know, those shows, those infomercial late at night. Somebody introduces something and the Vice Speaker come up, wait, there's more. And, you know, I sit back here and I'm always looking at my life's little instruction book because sometimes we need to be reminded of, you know, taking life more lightheartedly, and so in it's number 1340. It says, "Remember that anything worth doing is going to take longer than you think." Remember that anything worth doing is going to take longer than you think. And I stand here because one bill just gives it back to public health, but the other bill says, hey, why don't we work together with GCC? And what my understanding is that public health can have their public health facility. But even more, but wait, because there's more. GCC can be able to have an annex there so that they can have their training facilities. Could you imagine how cool that is? That is so cool. You know, maybe they could be on the top floor and all the medical facilities downstairs, and just press a button after taking a class, going downstairs and completing your internship. How cool is that? It reminds me of the infomercials, you know. But wait, there's more. There's one more thing that I wanted to point out in Life's little instruction book. And I folded it here, and it says, become the world's most thoughtful friend. And that's number 1336. The reason why I say that is because ever since I got in here, the vice speaker has been nothing but true. Everything that I authored, all those things that I felt that were good for the people, she has always managed to stand behind me and support me. And the vice speaker, I applaud her courage for standing up and offering the people more. And, you know, sometimes we have to be reminded that, you know, although I have a bill and somebody else has another bill, that, you know, I'll vote for either bill. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. What matters is, are we offering the people more? Are we offering them the best choice? And in this case, I support the vice speaker because I think if we both had these bills, the vice speaker's bill offers more. And I think it would benefit the people of Guam best if we do it the way the vice speaker suggests. And remember, the things that are, let me quote it better from the book again. Remember that anything worth doing is going to take longer than you think. And I think we should wait a little longer so that way we can have the best facility for all our people. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. On the motion, Senator Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's been quite an eventful morning. At least, hopefully, the sun will come out and somehow, some way, we'll have a productive day on the floor of the legislature, because I'm sure that's what our people expect of us. You know, I realize there are competing interests here with regards to the use of the public health facility. And as I mentioned, I remember when that facility was built, because I used to live in Mangilao, just down Mariano Road, because that's where my family property is. And I used to be one of those students in the 70s, a little earlier than my previous speaker here, that used to frequent public health only because as a public school student, like the children we had this morning here from Tamuning Elementary School, we loved the idea of getting on a bus, because that was like a field trip for us to go up to public health to see the dentist, get our shots. Remember, they used to give us those cups of fluoride to drink, swish around our mouth. There's a very important outreach during that time in the early 70s to encourage the health and welfare of the children in our community, particularly children that were in public school. And as I mentioned, I had other options. My dad was still actively serving in the Navy. I could have gone up to Naval Hospital. But you know what? I was a kid from Mangilao in a public school that I loved being in. And I, among many who are now adults, who are grandparents, some of my contemporaries are great-grandparents, we all want the best for our children, our grandchildren. We want them to be healthy. We want them to be safe. But you know, as I see, here we are once again. And I often say this because it's happening more and more than I'd like to see. Politics raises its ugly head. Our job here is not about us, even though we debate so much about ourselves and who we are and our bill and what we want to see. Because, you know, we think we're such great, important people. We think we're such great leaders. Where would the people of Guam be without us? Probably in a better place in some cases. You would think our priority would be to want to ensure the safety of our children and our community out there and the men and women that need the help and support that public health provides. And yet over what is now going on the last 5 years, we've not seen that. We've seen less help, less support, less capacity to help those that we often say, Madam Speaker, need the support the most. Those that do not have the resources or the money or the wherewithal, or maybe in some cases the insurance, to go to a regular clinic and get the help they may need. There are those that have no other choice at this time in their life. And we keep saying that the most vulnerable in our community is our biggest priority. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? But yet when the time comes to make those decisions, we are here right now, Madam Speaker, fighting the fight of Adelup. Because who made the decision to abdicate the public health building in Mangilao? Did anyone here make that decision? No one here is empowered legally with the authority to make that decision. That decision was made by the Hill. We promise our people better. We promise our people in a couple months that if you vote for me, I'm somehow going to make your life better. Or maybe a little less challenging. But when the time comes, Madam Speaker, to make those decisions, do we make the right decisions? Are we genuinely making the decisions on behalf of the people outside of these windows? Or are we supporting somebody else's political agenda? An agenda that's failed. An agenda that has failed to provide more public health service to the people in this community. That's the reality. And it's not because I'm saying it, because I was there, Madam Speaker, at that public hearing you were talking about when these employees of public health came out and relayed their frustrations. And you know what they were frustrated about, Madam Speaker? They were frustrated that they could not provide the support that they needed to provide, the skill set that they have that they could not provide to the people in this community that they know need their help. Because that's why they're there. I'm sure it takes a special kind of person to get into the healthcare field. Because sometimes when you're helping people, sometimes you can't. Sometimes the illness they have may not be something you can cure. That's the reality of life, and it's not the pleasant side of it. I don't argue what the Vice Speaker would like to see. I think that's wonderful. I think that would be a wonderful addition. But my concern is when we cannot provide those basic services that we have determined as a community are needed out there, I can't think of adding more when we can't address that, especially when I don't know if it's the word logic. I don't see how it's logical what happened to that building. I mean, sure, maybe it needed to be upgraded, maybe it needed to be improved, but like I said, I don't see how we're going to tear down buildings every 30 or 40 years, or even 50 years. I don't know how we're physically going to do it. I don't even know where all the money's going to come to do it. I mean, this building is 77 years old. I know because it was built in 1947, and how do I remember? That's the year my mom was born on Guam, 1947, so I'll never forget the age of this building. But that cannot be used as a reason to justify, especially when the administration ran on health care. The people of Guam were promised that they would get better health care. I look at the hospital that has had all that rain falling through it. I look at public health as I drive by regularly in Mangilao as it's been abandoned and just left to deteriorate and, yes, left to rot. That was the administrative decision that was made on an asset of the people. Instead of correcting whatever deficiency, if it was electrical, then go in and redo the electrical system. Renovate the building, upgrade it, improve it. But to simply let it sit there and deteriorate while we are spending millions of dollars of the people's money renting office space. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how the old legislative building that public health is, I'm still trying to figure out how they're paying rent to the Department of Administration. And yet these very employees who are in these rented office spaces came and told us they sometimes don't even have space to assist their clients coming in, or provide privacy for their clients coming in talking about their medical condition, or service these clients while they're squeezing in with their boxes of records and files in the limited space that they've been provided. And then on top of that, Madam Speaker, where are all the services out of public health? They're all over the place. They're down here in Agana. You want records and statistics, you got to go up to Tamuning. Maybe you should visit Senator San Augustine while you're there and say hi. That isn't what we should be doing. We should make it more difficult for our people to get the services that they need. Why? Is it because they're waiting for a new building to be built, or something that's going to come in place that's going to be better? If we knew that, then maybe we could be a little patient. You know, it's like the poor people down in Agate. 3 years later, they're still waiting for their post office building to be rebuilt. And they come up here and stand in line, waiting in line, and they don't even know if they have mail. How are we servicing our people better? Even though, you know, that's a federal issue, but it's a reality a lot of our people that are from the South are having to deal with. They don't see progress. Maybe they're going to build a new building. But to leave that building to deteriorate, and the resources and assets that were in that building to deteriorate and rot, how is that better government? How is that more responsible government? How is that caretaking the assets of our people? And then renting. Instead of the money that's being used for rent to go into the programs and go into the outreach, we've not seen that. Maybe the new director has come out. I've heard her with the proposal, oh, we're going to get out in the community. We're going to provide those services. Maybe we're going to, you know, get a transportation bus and bring it out. Maybe we're going to go to the village mayor's office. I hope they do something, because we've gone for a good almost 5 years without that service. Why are we not enraged by that? Why are we not upset by that? Instead, we're arguing on the floor of this legislature, and we're doing the argument of the politics of who wants what, who's going to get what, who's going to get credit for what, who's going to get their way. What does that have to do with serving the people of Guam? The response to the incident that happened at Public Health to me is mind-boggling. Because as I mentioned time and time again, I have dealt with a building that burned to the crisp. Nothing but black, wood, soot, whatever. And an entire building that had smoke damage. Was our response to that, oh, let's just shut the door and move out? Absolutely not. You go in there, you renovate, you take out, you fix, you assess. You do interim measures to ensure you can still provide for your operations, but you go back and you fix the building and you clean it out and you restore it and you reconstruct it and you move on, if that option is available. But to leave it in the current state, and the only explanation we have is, oh, there was an electrical fire. And even if there was a fire, what are you doing with it? Did you fix the building, or did we determine the building is not functional anymore and simply demolish it then and rebuild? Isn't that what most normal people would do? The biggest injustice is the service and the lack of service that we provided to ARC. This is what we should be most concerned about. Be it provided in a tent or a concrete building. We should be doing everything we can. And we just came out of COVID, for goodness sakes. It wasn't that long ago, the inconveniences and the hassles we had to deal with, worrying if the very surface we were touching was somehow going to contaminate us and make us sick. When we all had that concern and that fear of something that we could not see, we could not smell, we could not taste. And yet, we didn't know where it was. Was it everywhere? Gosh, let's sanitize, let's spray. Where's our mask? Where's our gloves? What can we wash? We got to wash everything. Wash your vegetables. Wash everything you have. Wash every packaging you have that you got from the supermarket. And yet, here we are. And there are many people that have many health issues that otherwise could be serviced at public health. And where are they ending up, Madam Speaker, if they can't be serviced at public health and their condition worsens? They're at the hospitals. They're crowding the hallways at the hospital. And where do you go, Madam Speaker, right now if you have a choice on Guam? Do you go to GMH or do you go to GRMC? GRMC, who we hear lately, I don't know if GMH is at capacity, but I hear often GRMC is at capacity, that people are in the hallway. It makes no sense. What has happened here has made no sense. And because we have competing interests of our speaker and our vice speaker on what to do with this building, I don't care about the building as much, Madam Speaker, as I want to ensure that our people get the service they need. And the building is an instrument to facilitating that, consolidating these resources so our people don't have to run all over the place to figure out where to get services. And by all means, you would think that would be the reasonable, logical thing to do. And if we want to add on School of Nursing for public health, great. Add on a wing. I remember the days when public health, our bus used to circle all the way around it to turn around as we drop students off. You can't do that now because they put a fence and put a few other things in the back of the building. But that used to be a big thrill. Hey, we get around public health building. You know, we kind of forget when we're children those things that fascinate us, those things in our memory that we think about. And yet when we become adults, sometimes we're a little jaded and we don't always make the right decision. You know, that's for our people to decide. They get to decide that fairly shortly, what they see of us, whether or not we're really looking out for their interests and ensuring that our government is functioning for their benefit. This should be a no-brainer. We should be doing everything we can to get that building operational again and servicing our people out there that need the service the most, that need the most basic of health care and support out there that we should be able to provide as a government. And if we want to add on for nurses training or whatever the case may be, I have no issue with that. I think we should do that. But I don't think that should be done at the expense of taking care of the basic needs of our people first. With that, Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Zusamasi, on the bill, Senator Duane, you should recognize. Sorry, on the motion.
Cesar Masi, Madam Speaker. You know, a lot's been said, and it's a worthy debate. But sometimes when I meet with people, they talk about the legislature, and I have great conversations with them, and what is the legislature doing? And a lot of times, the conversation I have is, I know that when we run for office, we make a lot of promises and we converse about things and how we want to do things and get things done. But the reality is we're a policy-making body. And the reason why I rise to discuss my feelings on this motion is because I believe we're having a political discussion on this floor because we didn't have a proper discussion in public hearings. A bill was introduced because, the way I see it, there's not a conflict of interest opportunity, there's a harmony of interest opportunity. GCC is one of the most successful organizations on Guam for close to 2 decades now of excelling and progressing in the construction of buildings, of being innovators in technology, in bringing about all of the dreams of alternate energy sources and the training, and the training, and the training, and the training. You know, if these 2 bills were to have held a public hearing at the same time, I'm sure everybody sitting in the audience would have realized that they really are complementary. You know, when you find an organization, just like they say, give the job to the busiest person because they'll get it done. When you find an organization that has proven time and time again that they can deliver, then why not join that organization? That footprint of property up there, Madam Speaker, is quite a large piece of property. And with modern technology that we have today, there should be no problem with GCC getting the funding together to have both interests served. We could easily pass both of those bills on the floor and they would be complementary of one another. I'm not going to speak to why the current situation exists. But what I will say is, and I believe one of the esteemed members on the floor here introduced it a couple of legislatures ago, there has been a move to bring this harmony of interest with GCC and public health for some reason. I don't know why it didn't come to fruition. But between schools, the hospital, and all the other governmental procurements that we've seen, I don't think right now we're picking one over the other. Because executive action doesn't require us, Madam Chair. In fact, I don't even know that we have to give back a property that somebody basically probably owns already. We can have land management do title research and see how the transfer or the occupation of the property exists. This could be happening today. So I don't feel to discuss both of these bills and have them have their true day on the floor is picking what you support and what you don't support. I think it's a logical conclusion for anybody who looks at the equation and says, there's a harmony of interest here. Every single project that we've seen that's been put forward as a dream, not only in this legislature, but in legislatures past, has one of the major impediments every single time attached to it: funding. I don't want to bring about their private conversations with me, or not even so private. I mean, we're standing normally in a signing of a document, a bill, or being at a ceremony to celebrate a groundbreaking or a ribbon cutting. And these same people from GCC constantly come up and say, hey, when's that bill going to hurt? We're ready to go. These are very public conversations happening with hundreds of people around us normally from time to time. So that's my issue. Now, I have no problem voting for 222. But I just see that we're missing the boat. We're missing opportunity. So I have to ask that question. What is the agenda? I mean, if there's more support even for one or the other over our own governmental agencies charged with this duty to provide these services, then we can hear it if we heard both bills at the same time. But from my conversations with everyone concerned, that doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, if the plan went forward and GCC then, because of the bill passing, had that conversation with public health and had the services directly being provided on site with those practitioners who are training. And remember, these are not just nurses a lot of times. They're not those LPNs, RNs, nurses' aides, people who are getting into the healthcare field. So I just don't want our community to mistake that there's a need to pick one over the other. There's not. There's a need to set policy that on its very face, if it hits you in the face, has a harmony of interest, and there are no proven timelines that one over the other would stop services or not deliver services. In fact, quite the contrary, there's probably a better case for better services being provided by both of these interests being held at the same time. So that's what I'll consider as I deliberate this discussion on the floor. I'm glad we've got to this. What I have to say, because I've experienced it before, it's a failure on our part. To do our business. To hear these proposals and then debate them. I would imagine if both of these bills have already been heard and were on this floor, they'd both get a unanimous vote. Cesar Smossy, Madam Speaker.
Cesar Smossy, on the motion. On the motion, is there anyone else on the motion? On the motion? Senator Canetta, you're recognized on the motion.
Thank you, Speaker. You know, I certainly support both legislations. I think we should have had a public hearing on both bills so that we can avoid the fireworks this morning. I personally don't like drama, but it's a part of the democratic process, right? We agree to disagree, and we have to proceed forward with whatever the body chooses. But I think one of the biggest things that we're going to continue to have is the shortage of nurses and medical professionals until we figure out some kind of resolve. I think having a facility again reopened isn't going to fix the shortfalls that we have. We already know that the last cycle of nurses that were graduated from GCC were all hired for GRMC. And again, it's a combination of issues. It's not something that can be fixed overnight because we've already tried to give compensation increases, but the benefit package is still shortfalling for the services. So I just wanted to put that out there, that we can have as many beautiful facilities out there, but if our compensation for the medical professionals isn't there, of course they're gonna leave. We've also had, what do you call it, a coroner, the person that checks the dead bodies, or people in the community that, medical examiner, thank you, was once upon a time accepting of one package and then declined the package and accepted another package, and then we hired another person, and then he quit after so much time, and now we've hired the guy that denied the previous package. So he's back on the table, but again, I think it comes down, there's a lot of issues. It's not something we can just fix overnight, but compensation and packaging is very important, so we need to also look into that in future legislation. I just wanted to note that for the record. And thank you guys again for your time this morning. Have a great day.
Cesar Smossy, Senator. On the motion, is there anyone else who'd like to be recognized on the motion? On the motion? Senator Barnett, on the motion, you're recognized.
Cesar Smossy, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to rise in opposition to the Vice Speaker's motion. I think the appropriate time to object to this bill or any bill being placed onto the session agenda would have been at the Committee on Rules meeting, which unfortunately the maker of the motion didn't attend. And so I am really enjoying this debate and some of the differences between the speakers. Madam Speaker, you rose and very eloquently and articulately made points, reiterated points that many of us who actually attended the public hearing got to hear live in person. And I remember sitting in that public hearing, and I remember thinking, wow, Nurse Gay, Annette Uggan, the countless employees from the Department of Public Health and Social Services who testified in support of Bill 222 against the wishes of the director. Because a day when we talk about people before politics, but all we do in here is the exact opposite. These public health employees testified in defiance of the director, not because of some political agenda, not because they want to continue to starve our people in the Central and the South, starve them of the very health care services the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration promised they were going to deliver. A retiring speaker in here had the nerve to say, let's wait a little bit longer. How much longer do you want to wait? Do you want to wait another 5 years? Do you want to wait another 10 years? How much longer do you want to wait before you make the right decision to deliver life-saving critical health care services to our people in a way that is convenient for our people? Because right now, I don't know what kind of healthcare system we're running. Todo mansalapon. You want to do this, you got to go over there. You want to do this, you got to go over there. You want to get prenatal care, good luck. Because Nurse Gay testified in this public hearing for this bill, which I guess we're debating now. She testified that prenatal care was down 50%. And when we talk about our infant mortality rate, Nurse Gay said that is probably the single biggest contributor to our infant mortality rate, which is an embarrassment for a territory that flies under the American flag. And Nurse Gay said the way that we alleviate that is we bring these services back to our people in a way that is convenient for them. And we've all been to the Central Public Health. I used to go there when I was young, and if we were lucky, we had some loose change to go out and get a egg burger or a snack in the little cantina there. And these employees went out on a limb and faced political persecution to give testimony because they believed it's right. They believe it doesn't make sense for us to take away that central public health location, which again has been sitting idle since 2019. I know because I drive by it every day. I drive by it and I look over that building, which again, it depends on who you believe, how extensive the damage is. But one thing is for sure, I'm pretty sure the interior of that building has gotten worse because it's been allowed to sit since 2019. Allowed to sit and mold and rot while our people have suffered, while babies have died, because we want to starve our people in the South and the Central of essential critical health care services so that we can then sell them a pie in the sky of $1 billion health care complex. That who knows, maybe members in this body own property in Manguilao and they want to see their property values skyrocket. I don't know. One thing I do know, though, is that our people aren't getting the critical services they need. And that's what this is about. This is not about politics. This is about people. So, Magay and I, if you're going to put people before politics, then let's pass this bill. Because right now our people are not getting the services they need. Our poor people are not getting the services they need. Our poor children are not getting the services they need. The employees of public health, those are the people I want to listen to. Those are the people who have been down in the ditches. Those are the people who have been delivering the services. Those are the people who have seen firsthand the decline in these services, the lack of availability in these services. That's what this is about. This is not about, oh, my bill didn't get on the agenda because I was off island and I couldn't object to this and that, and so now I want to come in here on a Monday and throw a big hissy fit and hold the legislature hostage just because I want to pursue a political agenda that actually harms the people's health care. That's what's going on here, my dear people of Guam. Nothing more. It's embarrassing. It is. Because when we have these long-time public servants in public health telling us exactly to the T. The relocation and displacement of our Bureau has impacted a significant decrease in services. Our relocation has affected our encounters with our services. Because these community health centers are supposed to offer what the community needs. We could have urgent care down in Inalahan. We could have critical services at Mangilao in public health if we could just get our heads out of this political nonsense and do what's right for the people. There's nothing that's stopping GCC from working with public health if we reopen this Mangilao clinic. And I'm not surprised that the director and the Department of Public Works leadership continue to drag their feet, because it's all politics, my dear people of Guam. They don't want to make any improvements for you. They don't want to give critical prenatal care to poor mothers because the governor and lieutenant governor want to build a hospital on the back road of Mangilao. And those are the facts. And sadly, that political agenda has taken precedent over delivering the help that our people need, that our people deserve, that our children and our babies deserve. Public health, the employees, they want to go back home to Mangitown, to Mangilao. Right now, we've got some public health over there at the Hessler building, paying rent to another government agency. And Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio promised the veterans, oh, we love to promise the veterans, that they would be over at Hessler building. Hafamon. Because we like to promise. We like to look in people's eyes and make promises, but behind our back, our fingers are crossed because we cannot keep these promises because too much political. This is common sense. It's common sense to bring services, important services, back to our people, to address our healthcare issues, to address our infant mortality rate by delivering medical care to pregnant mothers, by delivering medical care to babies. So my colleagues, I know I'm not going to be surprised by who raises their hand when we vote on this motion. Place your bets, place your bets. But again, the hardworking employees of public health, who I would say know much better than any senator sitting in here what is good for the people of Guam. These career public health servants have spoken, and if you attended the public hearing, you would have heard very loud and very clear exactly what they were saying. So, Madam Speaker, colleagues, por favor, let's listen to the people and close our ears to the politics. Si Dios Masi.
Susan Masi, Senator Barnett. On the motion, Senator San Augustine, on the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, Madam Speaker, I've listened to all my colleagues speak about all the dreams everybody wants to think about for public health in Mangilao. But if we look at, if my colleagues should just remind themselves just a little bit, because one of my colleagues mentioned earlier about GCC, Premier of Guam Agency, they can do wonders with grants and everything. But the bill only talks about reserving the lot. It didn't talk about opening it up and saving kids. It didn't talk about anything to do with health. Just reserve the lot. You know, while everyone was speaking, or as my colleagues were speaking, I went and made a phone call to the Department of Land Management and says, has the lot been moved to somebody else? Mr. Boris said, no, still under public health. Okay, so do we need to reserve it by law? For me, no, it's still under public health. Number two, being the appropriation chair, I haven't seen a bill that talked about how we want to fund so we can bring public health back to their building. Then the next question we need to ask ourselves, because we all got to admit, public health is scattered all over the island. Hessler, Castle, Rancare building, where I'm at, can they fit in that old building? Because many of you have said you've been there when you were young. When you were young, I've been there, like Senator Lujan, my colleague. I was there and probably saw you when you were young, when I was a police officer, making sure there's no disruption in that building. And you know what? I'm in support of removing it for the purpose of delaying the bill, and let's hear 221. Let's hear the other bill. Let's hear what GC is going to offer to public health, because they may have the means to fund it, because right now, we haven't identified a funding source or a means or what to do with the current public health building. My colleagues, don't forget, that building is still public health. We have a new director there. We need to find out from her, what can they do with that building? Where is the assessment of that building? Never mind about 2019. Estamos por cento. And if we want to look at the date going backwards, well, not to point fingers at the chair of the committee. I haven't heard anything since then. And since 2019, if I'm correct, I was the Appropriations Committee, and I haven't seen any bill identifying a means to even fund anything, even to pay for assessment, even to pay for renovation of the building. Because, yeah, I read the committee report. Yeah, smell of fire in the building, smoke, wiring. You know what normally happens for most of you, and I know a couple of my colleagues will probably tell me, if you think you got wiring problem, then just gut out all the wires and start from scratch. Go in there, clean out the building, repaint the building, and then identify the space you need. Because if I'm correct, that building is too small for public health as a whole. And if I'm correct, when public health was in Manila, they were also at the Castle building. They weren't just at that building next to the laundromat. They also had other areas. And if we want to talk about the southern folks, remind you, I'm married to a southern girl, and I'm very proud of the South. If we wanted to help the South, then let's make sure that the Interon Public Health is fully manned, fully equipped to accommodate and take care of the southern folks. Let's not make excuses. We need it in Manila. We want to take care of the South, then take care of the South, down in the South. The North is taken care of already. They're loaded. We need to take care of the central folks. But we need to do an assessment. GCC is offering to, if they take over the building with public health, we may find ourselves in a position where somebody may say, can we expand the property line? Can we buy the property next door so we can expand and build a bigger public health with the GCC in partner with them so they can produce the nurses that are going to help our public health, our GMH, and everybody else? Reminder, my colleagues, the bill only reserves the lot that's already reserved for them. I don't even see why we need to reserve a lot that by law when it's already reserved from them, for them. So with that, you know, Madam Speaker, I support the removal, and then we'll hear 221, then put them both up on October. And hopefully by then, if they're if anyone was to identify the cost, somebody introduce the bill fund. Because if I don't see a bill coming soon and I hear what it's going to cost, I will introduce a bill to fund the assessment, everything that needs to get done to upgrade, so we don't have to say our pregnant women are being denied service. Por favor, come up for another excuse. Public Health didn't give that all at that time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator San Augustine. On the motion.
Point of
Senator
information, Madam Speaker.
Please state your point
In
of
testimony, Department of Public Works had said they would move forward with assessments. They made no mention of funding or lack of funding. And then also, just to answer the remark about pregnant women being denied services, ma'am, that was also provided in testimony by the Department of Public Health and Social Services, ma'am. I didn't make that up. Sidos Masi.
Sidos Masi, Senator. On the motion, Senator Taitu.
Point of information also,
Please state
Madam.
your point of information.
Yeah. You know, not the retiring speaker, but the speaker before that, mentioning that Inalahan, Madam Speaker, is limited to the amount of what they're able to provide for health care. They don't have the room, enough room to provide it, and enough doctors. So having a centralized one is a better fit, just a FYI.
Sidos Masi. All right, there's been a motion. On the motion, is there anyone else who'd like to be recognized? Senator Shelton, would you like to be recognized? Senator Shelton, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. These bills, I look at them and I see Bill 221 and 222 as both very good and helpful bills to the people of Guam. However, I think in fairness, we need to hear this first bill that came, introduced in our body, before we can move on Bill 222-37. It was in the last term when I introduced a very similar bill to Vice Speaker Tina Muñoz-Barnes' bill, a very similar bill to allow the land of public health, which was vacant at the time for nearly 3 years, to be occupied by the Guam Community College to be able to build a nursing annex. And at that time, public health had told me that they had no desire to be in that building, and so I introduced it as such. In this term, Vice Speaker Barnes, in her discussions with public health and with the Guam Community College, has introduced a variation to allow for both of them to coexist in this location to help. As we've been working together, Madam Speaker, in the last several terms, we've worked to bring more opportunities for our students to become healthcare professionals, to become nurses through our community college and our University of Guam, providing them with more scholarships, with more positions within the Guam nursing program at the University of Guam. And here we have the Guam Community College trying to, can we have some order, please, Madam Speaker?
Order, please.
And now we have the Guam Community College here ready to assist as we've come out of the pandemic, knowing all of the health care needs of our island, all of the ways we are lacking. It's been repeated over and over again in almost every session we have here in the legislature. We know our hospital is falling apart. We know we've been waiting on a new hospital for our southern clinic, public health clinic, to open fully. All of these issues that we have, we are reminded of over and over again when every constituent comes knocking on our door for some kind of medical fundraiser. I think all of us here are attending medical fundraisers on a weekly basis so that the people of our island can get the health care that they need. Unfortunately, many times, off-island care. And here we have the Guam Community College willing to do the work to get federal funds to continue educating our people, build up, skill up a workforce that can provide health care on island for our people, and willing to be in a place co-located, existing with the Department of Public Health and Social Services. This bill that we're talking about to allow for the Guam Community College to use this property, Vice Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes's bill will allow us to kill two birds with one stone. It will allow us to coexist. And we've had 5 years knowing that this building has been empty, Madam Chair. Madam Speaker, I introduced this similar bill that I spoke about on April 25th, 2022. 8 months left in a term with no action on the bill, not a public hearing, nothing. And so this is not something that just popped out of thin air. And as the Health Committee Chair for 5 years, you've known this for more than 5 years since this building has been vacant. And there has been no action. But today, in this session, we must act without hearing this other bill, is what you're telling us. So, Madam Speaker, I ask you and our colleagues to please consider, put this bill to the bottom of the file. You don't have to remove it. You can do this as a motion of your own to put it at the bottom of the file, allow for a public hearing on Bill 222, or on 221, and have us come back with the opportunity of both bills being heard, instead of us having this discussion at a public hearing on the session floor. We can have both bills heard fairly, not being stifled in a committee, not being heard, even though the bill introduced first was Bill 221, and somehow that was not heard when it was on the same subject matter, 221 and 222. And so, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, I ask that our colleagues please consider this. Let's move it to the bottom of the file. Let's act on this motion, whatever is the best way for us to move forward here. We spent our whole morning with dozens of bills and resolutions on our agenda here, deciding whether or not we're going to act on a bill, on a certain bill. And we have the opportunity to do the right thing here, to listen to the public opinion on both measures, because we know that there are benefits to both bills, as we've heard all of our colleagues here say today. So let's give both bills the consideration due.
Cesar Masi, Senator, on the motion. Senator Taitakui?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just a point of information. Based on Bill 221, it clearly states that the property goes directly to the Guam Community College, point blank. It gives it to them. And it also provides them an insurance certificate and title. So there is no, collaboration here. Bill 221 clearly just gives it to GCC, period. Thank you.
Cesar Masi. On the motion, there's someone.
Madam Speaker, just
Senator San Augustine, did you have point of order?
No point of information. It's just for
point of order.
For clarification, okay. I understood what my colleague said. The bill doesn't say that. No different. Every bill that's heard on a public hearing, the committee can amend it, and if it's said that they're going to join, they can join. They can share the property. That's not an issue. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I guess that's not an issue for 222 either then. So on the motion, Senator Lujan, do you want to speak on the motion? You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's been brought to the floor in regards to the harmony between both bills, and I absolutely believe in that. Both bills were circulated for signatures, and when I read both bills, I said, I'm sure that this will be merged. And likewise, I had the opportunity to speak to both directors, the previous director of public health, and likewise the new director, and also the president of GCC regarding this Bill 221. Listening to pitting one agency with another is not what both these bills stand for. We've heard about the shortage of nurses that we constantly have, and the need for more health facilities here in Guam. That's not what President Okada is looking at in having one over the other, and Director Ariola having one over the other as well. They would love to collaborate. They would love to have a joint use, and that is exactly what the Guam Community College is looking at. They have the money. They have the resources. They need to build up capacity. They need to build out capacity to be able to, again, not just house the nursing students, but also the growing number of medical services that are needed. You know, a good example on possibly as a former speaker had mentioned here, had mentioned about amending. Anything can be amended. Absolutely. I'm hoping that Bill 221 and 222 can be merged into one. A good example of that, of not necessarily a merger, but two bills or a resolution 441 that we'll be hearing in this session as well, and 447. They both have to do with cabotage exemptions. 441 goes to supporting Congressman Moylan's efforts in Congress. 447, my measure, goes towards requesting Department of Transportation. They're both very similar, going different routes. And because they're the same substance, I asked the author of Resolution 441, Vice Speaker Barnes, if we could have a joint public hearing on it. And we did. And it was very successful. Everyone that testified on both. And when we argue this on the floor, we put this on the floor, I'm sure it's going to get unanimous votes because it accomplishes the same thing. One may be harder to get than the other. Going through the congressional route is a little harder than going directly to Department of Transportation, which precedents had been set in the past. I know, because I did it in the previous legislature. We didn't get the full loaf, we got a half a loaf. This time we're going for the full loaf. And hopefully with joint efforts going through Congress and going to DOT that we can accomplish a full exemption of cabotage. But I digress. So in this measure, you have an entity that has moved out for whatever reason. They had a fire and whatever, but they don't have the money to come back. You have an entity that's got the money, that is proven over the years. Dr. Okada has been very successful in building out GCC and doesn't come to us for money. And to be able to build out. A joint use is a win-win for the people of Guam. I wish we'd quit pitting one agency over there another. So my decision on a vote will be based on that, on the win-win, the merger of the two, to accomplish both. And that's what I thought that would happen, because they were kind of similar bills to accomplish, the same things. And again, as speaking to both heads of GCC and public health, that's what they want to do. That's what they would like to do. It needs to be built out. Because even now, even if it's a standalone on either one, it's too small for either one. So again, 221 and 222 are harmonious bills that it can accomplish the needs of our island, the shortage of nurses that we have, the shortage of medical facilities that we have as well. So if we merge the two, I think we can come out with a better product as opposed to one over the other. So I hope and pray that my colleagues would allow that to happen, and again, we'll come out with that product, and we'll have a nurses' school there and a medical facility with public health. And I tell you what, that's one facility that would never run out of nurses or have a shortage of nurses, because they'll be housed there and going to school, and you have a built-in internship program over there. Likewise, maybe full-time employees upon graduation. So I don't see this as one over the other. I see this as a victory for both, and a bigger victory for the people of Guam, because we're going to have a bigger facility and accomplishing, again, the need for more nurses and the need for more and bigger medical services and facilities. That being said, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And again, I would base my vote on, again, hopefully a cooperation on a merger of the two. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Mrs. Masi. Senator, on the motion, is there any other senator who would like to be recognized? If not, Vice Speaker, would you like to close on the motion?
Thank you for your patience and understanding, colleagues. And as noted earlier, my main reason for opposing Bill 222 is because it does not accomplish the mission stated in its title for the immediate use of the Department of Public Health and Social Services. As confirmed by the department staff just last week, Department of Public Health and Social Services has no capital funding available at this time. Meaning that if this bill passes and the burden of funding the renovations or repairs or construction of this building sits on the shoulders of public health alone, there is no credible time frame for when the money will be found. When procurement of these construction services will finish, and when the building can once again be open to staff and the public. As I previously told the body in my effort to move a competing bill forward, I also think it's important to get updated information on what factors will affect the solution Bill 222 seeks. Once again, according to the head of Public Health Employees Association, there are no federal grants available to use for capital expenditures, meaning even if this building stays in its inventory, there's no money available to make the substantive repairs required to reopen it for immediate use, as Bill 222 promises in its title. Secondly, the official extent of the damage caused by the electrical fire that occurred in November of 2019 is still not fully known. But here are some of the damage and needed repairs noted so far by the Guam Fire Department and the Department of Public Works. According to Battalion Chief Ronald Castro, based on the inspection conducted in November 27, 2019, major electrical and structural repairs are needed, with flooding found on multiple floors and signs of burnt outlets. Chief Castro categorized the overall damage as extensive due to the leaking roof and extensive electrical work needed. In addition, DPW Deputy Director Linda Ibanez informed my office just last week of its official assessment of the Manila facility is pending the request for proposal, which will not go until the Department of Public Health and Social Services identified about $1 million to pay for this service. Deputy Director Linda Ibanez said that her department is unable to conduct this assessment in-house because of two main reasons: the amount of inspections currently on the plates of DPW staff and the lack of in-house talent to properly assess the HVAC and electrical systems of the building. But Colleagues, Deputy Director Ibanez was on site during one of DPW's visits to the Manila building, and according to her, DPW has already noted a lot of mold and damage to the electrical and HVAC systems and repairs needed for the shell of the building, which is supposed to also serve as a fallout shelter. In addition to this damage, Deputy Director Banis informed my office that big ticket items needed to be addressed include the building's fire suppression system, generator system replacement, repairs to plumbing throughout the building, and ceiling tile replacement. Once again, colleagues, there are no grants currently available to fund any of these, and Bill 222 does not have any local funding to accomplish its goals of the Department of Public Health and Social Services being given immediate use of the building. And to be clear, colleagues, GCC has the ability to open its educational facilities and accommodate the Department of Public Health and Social Services offices and programs, including, and I say including, clinical, pharmaceutical, and child care programs. So because I wholeheartedly believe that there's a better option out there, and because Bill 222 fails to accomplish the very basic goal stated in its title to grant immediate use of the building to Public Health and Social Services, I want to say I continue to stand in opposition of this measure, and I ask my colleagues to remove this from the agenda
Madam Speaker.
until the time
Pardon
of...
me, Vice Speaker.
Point of information.
Please state your point of information.
Point of inquiry.
Senator
What is she reading from? Some report? I didn't hear that. This report that she's claiming to read on when we have an insurance report stating minimal damage, and I'm just really surprised to hear this document, and I'm just questioning, where is this report, and what's the date this is coming from?
Madam Speaker, if the person asking the question
was as to the date of the report you're reading.
Our office spoke to the Deputy Director, as I continue to state,
the date of the report
DPW
you're
was
reading.
last week. Last week, again, I continually says that.
Again, Madam Speaker, the date of the report.
Madam Speaker.
Yeah, Vice Speaker, she's only asking for the date of the report where you mentioned
Madam
the North
Speaker,
Sea.
I'm saying the report that's come to my office in speaking and in talking and working with the... Madam Speaker, again, with all due respect, as I look into this measure, and hearing from my colleagues about the collaboration that we can do
Madam
to work
Speaker,
on these
if I
efforts,
may,
Madam
point
Speaker.
of inquiry, Madam Speaker, if she's not going to give us a date that, with all due respect,
Madam Speaker, she's
please
not
give us a
listening.
date on this report, and who
At
is
the
it
time
from?
you-
Senator Taitigui. Vice Speaker, she's inquiring. Would you yield to the inquiry?
It's been reported to me. And you know what, Madam Speaker, it's my personal, again,
Please
Madam
proceed.
Speaker, and I will continue to proceed with all due respect. And I'm asking, even based on what was shared with our colleagues today and the history of what has happened in the past on previous legislatures, and I know one legislature can't bound the other legislature, but the hard work our legislative secretary did last term, and now our work in trying to work closely together, I have asked if we can work together and if we could hear both bills. And there was a commitment that was supposed to be afforded my way, and it wasn't. So all I'm asking is, if we can't, I want to motion to remove this bill from the agenda until we have the opportunity to hear the competing measure and have both bills come on. I'm not going to take it away, because I think both bills can have its merits, like what was mentioned by the good senator from Tamuning, the good senator from Agana, the good senator from Asen, the good senator from Talafofu or Windward, the good senator from Jigu. I'm not here to fight. We know that public health, literally, I grew up in Manila. Yes, I did grow up in Mangi Town. I still am in Mangi Town. And let me tell you, public health, it has outgrown its campus since in the 80s. And that's why, but we need to continue to do our due diligence as a body to see what creativity is out there, to step outside of the box and see who else can help us. We've done it before. We've had partnerships, we've done leveraging, we've done bridging to work together with agencies. Why is it this is not the same thing? Because it's not my bill. If it wasn't promised to me or committed to me, I wouldn't have a problem. Because yes, committee chairs can hold bills in their committee. And it's been 9 months, and a commitment was made, and it didn't happen. So when this came on, yes, I wasn't there at the Committee on Rules hearing, because I was at the Commission for Higher Education, the WICHE, which is the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education. I was at that meeting for a possibility to get more grants, to work with our agencies, to work with 160 universities, to get more scholarships so we can continue to train our people so they can come back home and be doctors, be nurses, be CNAs, be pharmacists, be podiatrists, 14 different disciplines. And each time Bill 222 tried to get on the Committee on Rules hearing, it was objected to because 221 wasn't heard. But again, that is not on the agenda, so I'm going to say 222 on my motion.
Senator Barnett,
I just wanted
do you have a
to,
point do you have a point of order, Senator Barnett?
if I may just make a point of information that no one objected to the placement of this bill onto the session agenda during the Committee on Rules meeting.
Thank you. Senator, Vice Speaker, please.
So again, Madam
Continue.
Senator, Madam Speaker, sorry. I move that this bill be removed from 222. To be removed from the agenda until we can get a competing measure heard, and that this August body will have the opportunity to collaborate and come together to see what's in the best interest of the people of Guam and the government entities, to work closely together and look at what available resources are out there without impeding into our government resources and coffers that are already being utilized to provide for the basic services of health, education, and safety, but that we could work together. I yield back, Senator Masi.
On the motion, there's a motion to remove Bill 222 from the session agenda. All in favor? There's an objection. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries. We're still under motions. We're going to recess until 2 p.m. today.